Today is November 30th, 2017, and the time is 12:15 a.m. or p.m. The stress is really getting to me, and being weeks away from the next court date, I just starts to really impact me a lot. One of the things that I would like to talk about that I've briefly mentioned over the years is the restraining order that the female imposed on me in June of 2013. I don't remember too much of that. It happened weeks after the two officers did street justice on me as a result because of her. And I was already in a lot of shock from that, and when I got served that restraining order, it was like running into a brick wall. Running into a brick wall blindfolded. I didn't even see it coming. And there was countless of these so-called professionals attaching affidavits in support of her, believing her, saying I have no reason not to believe her. And they did the restraining order against me ex parte, meaning that I wasn't there. It was like an emergency fucking restraining order. And she was claiming that I was stalking her, blah blah blah. And if anyone was stalking anyone, it was her stalking me, because I would go to places remote to where she would be, and she'd be there. And then I'd run into her, and over the times that I was working there, and I'd ask her, how did you get here? And either she said she walked or a friend drove her. Anyway, so all these so-called professionals, from shrinks to workers to, there was some domestic women's abuse shelter or some shit like that. Like, holy fuck. But none of them knew what I was up to with her, setting her up. Everyone else ran into that head first. And by no fault of mine, because I tried to talk to everybody. and nobody wanted to talk to me. Now, the police had my laptop and all that other stuff that was in my backpack, and I used to carry that thing everywhere with me. It had my ID in it and all this other. It had everything, all my most valuable possessions in it, which is not much anymore. So I didn't have all the evidence, but I did have stuff online, and I was posting, and they're still up, but private videos of what I was up to and documenting everything and writing everything out. And so that's all I had, which was enough. So I had the opportunity to reply to that, basically defend myself against that. I think it was towards the end of June of 2013. And she had 7 to 8 of these so-called professionals supporting her in court, and I stood alone. And in fact, I talked to duty counsel because I was such a mess. I couldn't even talk, let alone form a thought. Literally. And that bitch of a duty counsel didn't care what I had to say. I was guilty no matter what. And her advice was, well, first she said she didn't have the time to go into my case with regards to that in any depth, and take what I can get. So I'm like, okay, well, this is bullshit. And in the end, I ended up getting, hey, despite everything, the best I was able to do with what I had was get a mutual restraining order, which ended on January of 2014. And that wasn't even my objective. I needed her as my witness, and there's audio recordings and stuff after the May 4th, 2013 event that she said she would be my witness and everything, and all of a sudden now I'm stalking her and all this other shit. No one wanted to listen. And all these so-called professionals wanting to use their positions of authority to support her. It all backfired on them. It all backfired on them. And they all walk away. They were willing to sink me over lies. And everyone just scurries like fucking cockroaches. Still keeping their jobs. That time, that hit me so hard. And the first lawyer that I had didn't want to do anything. Because see, everyone thought that I was guilty of all sorts of stuff. Nobody gave a shit. No, why would anyone give a shit? The two fucktards beat the shit out of me. They didn't care what they said when the trial started or what they did to me or anything, because think about it. Who would give a shit about someone who raped somebody or sexually assaulted somebody or whatever? No one would really care. So that's why they were so nonchalant about everything. Then nobody anticipated what I was doing, and it's no fault of mine. And these so-called professionals, who for some strange reason society thinks that, oh well, they have a title, their opinion, their personal fiction, their theories must have more value than anyone else. Take, for example, that weirdo who did the pre-sentencing report. And I filed freedom of information requests from his office, and he ignored them all to find out what he wrote and what's going on, and he ignored them all. The other thing I want to mention is with regards to freedom of information requests. I sent freedom of information requests out to the local police regarding my case and whatever, RCMP, everyone. And I got from the local police, I think it was like 120 pages of materials. And out of that, I was able to get a couple of small paragraph worth of stuff that wasn't redacted. Everything else was redacted out of everything. And what I did learn, what they didn't block out, was that the December 2012 anonymous tip or whatever was made by someone in the organization, a female, and they weren't sure if it was a staff member or somebody. It appeared that they were trying to figure out who had made that allegation, and that's all I know from that. But they redacted everything else for whatever reason. If I'm not mistaken, if I recall correctly, they were alleging that they were redacting it because the investigation was still ongoing or something. I'm not sure. I don't know. And I filed freedom of information requests from his office, and he ignored them all to find out what he wrote and what's going on, and he ignored them all. And he ends up in his bullshit report, without getting into everything, said that I wasn't remorseful for something that I didn't do, risking the officers' lives and disrespecting them and all this other bullshit. One idiot says something as a professional, and other idiots through professional courtesy. And that's a word that most lay people would never hear of. It's talked among professionals. If you have a title, and even if you're in a completely different discipline, you support the other professional to maintain that illusion of greatness. You know, you have police, these two cops. The first cop, in his police notes and occurrence reports or whatever, and the second disclosure package, there was two disclosure packages. The first one was like 45 pages. And about a year and a half later, with the second lawyer, miraculously, that turned into about 4 to 5 inches of pages. And there's still stuff missing, and you can prove it because based on the officer's notes and what they were wanting and all this other stuff, it's missing stuff. But in the officer's notes, the first officer said that he was sitting inside of the police cube van doing something. And somehow he witnessed me deliberately falling in the back of the police cube van with the second officer to deliberately hurt myself to cause my own injuries. But yet, he, in his own reports, he wasn't anywhere near the back. He said he heard me scream in pain. So, and that's verbatim. So if he was actually there, he'd actually he would have seen what happened, right? Like it. Professional standards, or also known as internal affairs, once told me that no one cares what I have to say. I remember the first time before meeting these two clowns, I was sitting in the courtroom, one of the first appearances that I had to do, and a lot of court staff used to mistake me for a lawyer, because I guess I have that look. And I was sitting, and these two detectives were sitting in front of me, and a SWAT team member recognized them and sat down in front of them. And very quick chat, and the SWAT guy goes to them, well, what are you guys doing here? And the one detective said, he starts chuckling, goes, oh, we're here on just on another assault PO, police officer matter. We thought it was funny. And then when we went to a different courtroom, they realized who I was. Maybe they were hoping I didn't hear that, but I did. One of the last times, or the last time that I had spoke to these two detectives, they were saying that their in-house lawyer, QC lawyer, Queen's Counsel, that he'll mop the floor with me. And they started to try to rely on two different case laws, trying to get out and investigating the two officers in that night and releasing any information to me. The first one they tried to use was R versus McNeil. I went through R versus McNeil, and in fact, the ruling of that supports that they are to conduct investigation and give the defense the fruits of their investigations. Now, the one part they were relying on, and I don't remember it verbatim, but there was the judge with that case, and conveniently, both of these cases come from this very city. And what this judge in R versus McNeil said, that basically the officers need to be protected, and measures should be implemented so that the investigation of officers are basically held off until the ones they are accusing, their matter is over with. And it was a recommendation. In law it's called obiter dicta. Translated means words in passing. And that case law was, at the time, like from, I don't know, 7-8 years prior. And nothing was ever implemented because they know it wouldn't be right, it's unconstitutional, it would be against the law, etc., etc., etc. So when I had highlighted all that, then they turned around and tried to use case law called R versus Yip. And again, the same conclusion, with the judge saying that the professional standards, internal affairs, is supposed to complete their investigation and forward all the fruits of the investigation to the defense, as the defense, there may be information there to aid the defense. The judge in that case said, and he was using some act or something with regards to the medical profession, doctors, not to proceed with investigations until other things are dealt with. And I'm very loosely paraphrasing. And this judge recommended that the same should be applied to police. And that case is like 8 years old. So neither of these two cases support them not doing anything. And these two detectives had said that they were instructed by their in-house counsel, this Queen's Counsel lawyer, not to proceed. And I had rebutted that. And then I got an email. And I have emails and letters in my possession with this going back and forth, which ended up being some exhibits in my trial that I used. And this lawyer emails me back saying he did not instruct them, he recommended that they don't proceed. Basically, by now, he's realizing that he doesn't want to get in any trouble. So I ended up filing complaints against these two first internal affairs detectives. And that file was forwarded to two other internal affairs detectives, and they weren't going to do anything, so I filed complaints against them. And I said, if the next two do the same thing, I'll be filing complaints against everyone. And then they spent months, I don't know how many months, like 5 months, trying to find someone to deal with this. And they couldn't. So they ended up bouncing it back to the first two internal affairs detectives to handle complaints against themselves and everybody. So this is the nonsense that I'm up against. And then I ended up filing complaints against the whole internal affairs professional standards, and never heard anything from them. Anyway, I think really that's all I want to say. I really want to get into a little bit more detail about the restraining order because I really haven't talked about it too much. And share some more details of what I've been dealing with. Thanks for watching. Please like, and for anyone who's hesitant on liking my videos because of the suffering that I'm going through, it's not that you're liking my suffering, it's just you're showing your support by giving a thumbs up. And do feel free to share this and all my other videos. You can find me on Facebook. And thank you for watching.